The day this video was published is March 15th, 2026. And 10 years ago on this very night, a fire started by a deliberate act of arson tried to wipe nearly 500 years of history from this place. As the sun went down in 2016, over 50 firefighters stood just over there, battling a blaze that ripped the timber heart of Wythenshawe Hall. The bell tower collapsed and the roof fell in, and for the crowd standing just over there, it felt like a death in the family. The name Wythenshawe comes from the Old English word meaning the willow wood. And it was home to the Tatton family for an incredible 600 years. Wythenshawe Hall, as we see before us, dates to about 1540. But there were reports from the Friends of Wythenshawe Hall that there was a manor on this site long before that. In fact, when Robert Tatton built the current house in 1539 to celebrate his marriage to Dorothy Wood, he used some of the wood from the original house that was there, wood that already had centuries of history behind it. One of the most interesting discoveries that happened here was in 1978. Repairing some dry rot as they took the wood panelling down, they saw Trumplioli. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, but basically it was specialised painting meant to deceive the eye. That's what that word means. And it made it look like it was wood carvings. It's so fantastic, in fact, that experts believe the artist that did it worked for the royal families down in London. And that's the thing, that's the tragic thing about the fire 10 years ago. It wasn't just some country house, it was a masterpiece. It's gone. The most violent period for this hall was in the winter of 1643 during the English Civil War. You see, Robert Tatton was a fierce royalist and he turned this place into a garrison, sheltering up to 50 people. For 3 months, they were surrounded by parliamentarians and it was deeply personal. Legend tells of a young Mary Webb whose fiancé was killed by the Roundheads, and seeing the parliamentarian's second in command, Captain Adams, sitting on a wall somewhere around here, she took a musket and killed him in an act of pure vengeance. The parliamentarians refused a truce for burials leading to secret graves in the gardens. 6 skeletons were found centuries later. The parliamentarians ended up bringing 2 massive cannons from Manchester, and out of food and out of supplies, the Tatton surrendered. Robert was declared a delinquent and had to borrow money to pay the fines to get his home back. While the Tatton name is the one most associated with this place, during the 18th and 19th century it was part of a much larger power dynamic. In 1747, William Tatton married Hester Edgerton, heiress of the nearby Tatton Park estate, merging the 2 families into one, the Tatton Edgertons. For generations, they managed the 2 estates as one, which is why, if you look at the stained glass in there, you can still see the Edgerton family arms, marking a point in time where Wythenshawe was a satellite of one of the most powerful families in the country. By the 1920s, the time of great country squires had ended, and in 1926, the era of the Tattons was over. But the hall found its modern purpose, thanks to Ernest and Sheena Simon. The Simons were social reformers. They bought the hall and the initial 250 acres specifically to gift it to the Manchester Corporation. Their idea was a garden city, a sanctuary for working class people. Manchester saw its potential and strategically bought parcels of land surrounding it, eventually getting up to the 270 acres we know today. But it wasn't without controversy. According to the Friends of Wythenshawe, part local tenant farmers were not happy. Apparently the Tatton family had been great landlords for centuries. And then there was a bit of scandal when the Simons took the title Lord and Lady Simon of Wythenshawe, despite living in Didsbury. To locals, they were just outsiders. But without their visionary generosity, this place wouldn't exist. It'd likely have been carved up for industry. If you look at that clock tower now, it seems timeless. But if you stood here 10 years ago, you'd have thought time stopped. It was 3:30 in the morning when the first 999 call came in. What started as a deliberate fire in the timber frame core turned into an inferno. And because of the unique construction of the building, the fire travelled within the walls. By the morning, the scene was apocalyptic. More than 50 firefighters were pumping water from the park's ponds just to try and drown the flames. But as the heat intensified, the 16th century core just couldn't take it. And in seconds, the historic ceiling was just turned to ash. The Friends of Wythenshawe Hall were here while the embers were still glowing, and they felt like our history had just been wiped. For months, it was stood, covered by scaffolding. And it wasn't necessarily a question of when it would reopen. It was more a question of if it could even be saved in the first place. When the sun came up on the 16th of March, the community's reaction was immediate. What started as localised grief turned into a decade-long mission of restoration. The fire revealed the true strength of the Friends. The day of the fire, they stood with experts in tears, but they didn't just mourn, they got straight to work. Over the last decade, they've worked alongside restorers, documenting everything, every beam. And as a result of the fire, they've actually made some discoveries of the way the building was constructed that hadn't been seen in centuries. Meanwhile, the Friends of Wythenshawe Park ensured the rest of the park remained open. From the play park, the farm, the meadows, to ensure it was still a sanctuary for people. The hall might be the crown, but this park really is the kingdom. It's here, it's always open, it's free. It's a living embodiment of the promise the Simons made to us a century ago. Wythenshawe Hall is a survivor. It stood here through the birth of the nation, a civil war and literal flames. If you want to support the work of the Friends of Wythenshawe Hall, I've put a link in the description below. They're a small team of volunteers who do massive work, and any support will ensure the next 10 years are on growth and not recovery. But more than anything, I just encourage you to come here. This isn't a museum behind a velvet rope, it's 270 acres that belongs to everyone who walks here. Whether you're coming to play with your kids on the park, whether you're coming to do a run, whether you're coming just to wander, to look at the hall, to come into the hall, which is open at least once a month. Or, weirdly, to look at the statue that you're currently on of Oliver Cromwell in front of the building that he tried to break. If you're interested in that story, we do have a video on shorts on TikTok and YouTube. 10 years ago, we feared the worst. This place burnt. But now you can walk through the front door. It's a testament that history isn't just things that happened to people in the past. It's what we choose to save. And Wythenshawe Hall is yours. So go and claim your piece of it. Thanks for watching.